Trying to get something. Trying to get here to do something here. There we go. So what? There. All right. So continuing to hear. There we go. That's what we could do. Finally. As I stand on the eve of publishing this book, my foremost aspire is extend and share my joy with you. I hope you find something of value inside this chapter. I believe you will, and I appreciate your being here. Perhaps you'll soon be on your way to discovering where I hid the 5 treasure boxes. Or maybe you'll prefer to stay at home and never go look. Either way, I believe if you open it to this book may help you become a wiser treasure hunter in a way that matters to you and that could lead to a bountiful riches both inside and out. Yours in the hunt of John Collins-Black. So there's things that he example that he put in some of the boxes and stuff. So um, I took a picture. That way you can see what he did and stuff. So how to read this book. If you are someone with no interest in finding the physical treasures I have hidden them, then reading this book should be straightforward exercise. Each chapter of part 1 is uh, Kurt can't say certain by the history of the stories of at least one item in the treasure, sometimes multiple pieces inspired to share the wisdom of a topic. From time to time, some historical fictional flair is added for storytelling effort, but for the most part, I prefer to remain true to historical facts as they are known. Every chapter has something of value to take from it or a lesson or message that we may apply to our daily lives. I invite you to reflect on them if you like. On occasion, to help illusion uh, illustrate a theme I share personally and a thought about myself or others who played a part in this project. I hope those stories added color to the larger moral here. My initial instinct was to keep myself out of the way as much as possible. As this book is not meant to be personal memoirs, still, I realize some readers, especially those who want to find the 5 treasure boxes, may be interested to learn a little more about me or the events that led to this treasure hunt. Perhaps you are curious too. On the other hand, if you are eager, waiting for me to shut the hell up and get to the part about how you can source this book for clues that will lead you to the location of the largest treasure box, then let's get to it. First thing I would advise is to read this book once through 34 through the whole entire book and dolls in it, I have subsequently placed many clues within the text of the book, as they are not always overture. Obviously, you may or may not pick up on all of them right away. That's okay. And to be expert, I'll suggest jolting down anything that makes your spidey senses tingle. Let your thoughts integrate on this book after you finish on sequentially reads sequential read. It will most likely become easier to distinguish. Clues become clearer. Hey Mustang. Also, if you find a typical or story captivating and intriguing, and your instinct is to go research further, I invite you to do so. It's not outside the realm of possibility. That was my exact intention. Who knows what fun, interesting stuff you may discover. As I mentioned before, almost every chapter of the first 23 included at least some information helpful for finding the location of the largest treasure box. Do not overlook any part of this book. Almost anything could be helpful in your cause. And remember, the fourth chapter in part 2 of this book contains primarily all you need to discover the locations of other 4 treasure boxes. And semi-finally, note you don't have to be a genius to solve the location of any treasure boxes. At least, I didn't think, I don't think you do. I am not a genius, so creating some complex ciphers or grand secret code beyond the scope, the aptitude you need to find our treasure. Are really many of these illustrated thoughts. The chapters in this book learned from those stories may be even applied to teaching, and you'll be well on your way. Do not put undue pressure on yourself to be perfect. Have fun. You won't need to understand every clue or hint to bring together the full picture. Finally, know that the pointers I left for you in this book will only oh no problem with thing. Um Left for you in this book will only bring you closer to the hidden treasure boxes. If you find the treasure boxes, you'll have to travel out your door and go outside and search for them. Some people refer to this as boots on the ground. Mother Nature beckons you. Don't ignore her. Go say hi. I think I can think of no better reason to turn off your TV, pocket your smartphone, and go breathe some of our planet fresh air. Take a friend, bring a picnic, find a treasure. Now you could be better than that. The only joy in the world is to begin. Caesar Perez. Chapter 1. The 120 carat sapphire. A plan that changed the world. It takes much energy to wish as it does to plan, wrote Eleanor Roosevelt. Or tell me, what is your plan to do with your one wild or precious life? Mary Oliver. Just the other day, my 3.5-year-old son asked me if we could play together. His bright blue eyes beamed at me like lasers. How could I not? He led me hand to hand downstairs to his room. They're spread out, crossing his floors, was a street map of Los Angeles. He is except inspected, grab a pink highlighter and some blank paper and start marking. I'm working on a project, he said. I'm making a map. What kind of map? I asked. His marker moved with a quick flourish. Treasure map, he replied. I've never once talked with my son about that treasure I hidden. He had no idea about them. My son's interest in discovering treasure, undoubtable his own, infraction similarly subscribed into his DNA by 18 months earlier. He was burying plastic gold coins in his sandbox to dig right. Back up later, he was searching for dinosaur bones in archaeology dig kits. There were Kleenexes to hide and find between couches and cushions. There were fossils to investigate in the dirt driveway. Then there were plastic jewels to place and then discover. Within balls of sticky Play-Doh, he's on a seamless, endless quest. It's entertaining to watch. Smiling in amusement as my son Drew, realizing dawned on me, this toddler had already figured out the first critical step to acquiring something we desire. Have a roadmap. It's based yet essential reality, and it happened to be the fact I took my granted for way too long. However, this chapter is not about my shortcomings. That's for later. Rather, this chapter is about a person who, like my son, knew its importance of a good map. It's quite amazing that this man gets fairly few mentions in magazines, movies, and history books. Other, more charismatic individual grab the spotlight. Still, this person comes up with a masterful game plan. He put it together on a roadmap to provide the directions of the company he put together and led. And his extension of that plan led the foundation of what is. At that time, I wrote this, the most honorable company in history of the world. Let's rewind to the summer of 1975. Life in America was certainly simple than today. Home phones were rotary and screwed in kitchen walls. Milkmen still left morning deliveries of bottles at people's front doors. Instead of smartphones, people enjoy reading comics in the daily newspaper while having a morning coffee. A bit of calm had just arrived with end of the Vietnam War. Just a few months before, at the movies, everyone was head to see some of the new Fang action movie called Jaws by the bidding director named Steven Seagal. Had you ventured around in 1975 and asked an average person that they knew about computers, they might have to stop and think of the moment if they give you an answer at all. They might have described men in white lab coats, scientists standing in front of all of the tall machines adorned. Men talk to each other in hushed tones inside a secret laboratory. It's a funny scene, but looking back, not many of us could fathom technology developed that were headed our way. Not funny, not many could imagine how computer technology would reshape our world in just a few short decades. But a handful of people, mostly living around San Francisco Bay Area, had an inkling. In 1971, two such Californians were in their early 20s. Both men shared the same name, Steve. One sunny afternoon, the younger Steve was strolling around the neighborhood with his friend Bill Fernandez. As they walked and talked, Bill happened to notice his other friend Steve outside in the back in the yard washing his car. Bill went over to introduce the two buddies. Bill thought the two Steve might hit it off. Since both were tech nerds, he was spotted on. The day of the historical friendship was born. The younger Steve was tall and slender. Unkempt hair, he had brushy opinions that he delivered the supreme confidence. He loved to uh, wax philosophize on numerous topics, and he fancied himself as an artist. His last name was Jobs. The older Steve was shorter, but also unkempt hair. This Steve was quieter and more reserved. He spoke to the point. He used practical efficiency and had keen engineer in mind. His last name was Wisnick. Both Steves share uh, kind of same ideas and grit. Each Steve had a big vision for the future, but neither Steve had experience in business nor a coherent plan on how to make their ambitions come true. As it would ironically torn out their very first business venture together involving phones. Now, Steve Wozniak engineered the device he called Blue Box. The Blue Box allowed people to make a long distance call at no cost. Wozniak thought the invention was clever, which it was, only he had no idea how to sell it. But Steve Jobs loved talking to people with his gift for gab. Jobs sold 200 blue boxes, and he and Wozniak split the profit, and yet it wasn't telecommunication that got the two Steves most excited. It was household computers. In 1975, a meetup of the computer hobbyists gathered for the first time in the garage, Menlo Park, California. The group coined themselves the Homebrew Computer Club, and they began to gather regular. Their meetings were serious but casual, with members discussing the latest information and development in the computer technology. Job and Wozniak were essential and active part of the homebrew contended. Inspired by the decision at Homebrew, Wozniak designed and built his own computer. It was the first kind, a computer ready built circuit board that did not require its owner to put it together. Wozniak thought his current employer, Hewlett Packard, would certainly love this invention. He, let's see here, he eagerly demonstrated and prototype to his bosses. They had no interest. He pitched it to them 4 more times. Each time they turned him down. But Steve Jobs thought Wozniak's invention was fantastic. Always the sure salesman. Jobs told Wozniak that he should stop shopping his invention around and they should go into business together. Wozniak agreed soon after returning from his fruit orchard in Oregon. Jobs named their new computer Apple. Wozniak took his computer to Homebrew Computer Club and demonstrated his invention to the group. One of the members owned a retail chain store and placed an order for 50 computers on the spot. In order to pay for the production of those circuit boards, Wozniak sold off his fancy programmable calculator, while Jobs sold his Volkswagen minibus. The store quickly sold the first 50 computers and ordered 150 more. Jobs and Wozniak were now officially business, and Apple had first successfully produced a pilot. Wozniak's computer would become Apple One. Wozniak's job is a huge dream and the vision of Apple computer. In every home across the country, but they had no roadmap for growing Apple. They knew Apple would require money, but more than just capital, they lack of a plan. Just as this book can guide you towards the treasure I've hidden, Wozniak and Jobs needed directions. The first person who invented their new company was Mike Markkula. Markkula had worked in Intel and Fairchild Semiconductors as a marketer manager. He was a strong believer in the potential of computer technology. He loved the idea of Apple. Mark, Mike, one stipulation of if he was going to back Apple with his own funds, the fledgling company with its one under development product need to be led by someone with ability to create and execute a brilliant business's blueprint. Both Steve agreed. Now Mike happened to know the perfect person for the job, Mike Scott. Scott oversees a large team at a company named National Semiconductors, the largest maker of semiconductors in the world. He managed hundreds of people. He understood the complex system. He understood the chip manufacturing process. He also had important relations with the chip and part producers. The three men pitched Mike Scott on the vision of Apple. Mike Scott listened to their idea, quit his job, and took a large pay cut to become Apple's first CEO. Apple now had 4 principal owners, Mike, 2 Mikes, and 2 Steves, to avoid confusion. Mike Scott went by Scotty, and Wozniak was called Wes. Now, Scotty was Apple's prominent leader. One central value of Scott's initial idea of Apple's success was his belief that creating a positive company culture and growing a staff were important as making a product. Scotty put his plan in motion. As Apple quickly grew its team into the hundreds, sales increased and processing for scaling or form. For the next 4 years, Apple sees size double every 3 months. The media would quickly depict Steve Jobs as the genius mind behind the early success of Apple in reality. As Mike Scott set his ideas into action, Jobs was more a thorn in his side. There are many stories about um, uh, getting fractions in the early days of Apple. One of the funniest one occurred when Scott created simple workplace badges. Each badge included a unique company employee number. Since Woz had designed the engineer the Apple One, Scotty gave him employee number one. Job through. Hold on a second. What was this thing? Hold on.